Gamer Dude 2088, and if there's a rumbling noise in the background, it's my AC, so please excuse it because it's like on its last leg and it's like 90 degrees in this room right now. I'm currently sweating, but today we want to talk about my progression, you know, see how far we can get in the game, all that good stuff, because it's been a month, and you know, we clock in and tell you guys, you know, each month what has happened, and boy, do we got a lot to go over. First thing first, we're gonna talk about the new units I have. Yes, because we got a few new units. Hopefully I put out the summoning videos before this video so we don't get all sidetracked and everything. Okay, I don't quite remember where we last stopped off at, but I believe during this last month, alright, the first unit we had pulled was my buddy Mike, the water bomber. I named him Mike because if you already saw the summons I did with Mike Mobile, if not, there should be an iCard in here somewhere that I will probably have that you can just like click that and then boom. But through the last glyph removal, we stripped our fire kitty. Sad to say, the fire kitty got stripped and got just these little mediocre glyphs on them right now. And everything that had DPS glyphs pretty much got stripped just to make sure Mike had the best of the best that we can put on him, so he could cleave a little more as well as still bomb things, because we switched over from cleaving more so into bombing. You know, I mean, if you saw the Water Witches music video, then you know where we at when it comes to our PvP and everything, at least in that perspective. Also, I had a summoning that I did where I was just summoning for fodder. I wasn't trying to pull anything, and I ended up getting Sapphire. And yes, Sapphire, I love her to death. She's just so good. She just so wicked, Sapphire Jackie. But Sapphire is pretty OP, and I wouldn't say the best glyphs I have, because I mean, could use a lot more HP and a little more defense, to be exact. But she's in a good spot right now. She does her job. I use her almost everywhere. Like literally almost everywhere. We also just recently, like during the time, like a few days during the time before this recording, pulled our second WHS, which is Amaze. Loving that. You know, I would rather had a Hobgoblin that's Air Shaman for you guys that don't, you know, not keeping up with these units I'm naming, because we're going to name everyone in the game at some point in time. Or the Air Crusader, which we don't have a name for it yet, but yeah, did pick up a second WHS, which is pretty cool. I like having 2 cooldown reducers, because that just the cycles of the CDR is like a maze. It's just I can't even explain how good it is, especially until we pulled another Snap 4, which is our Green Goblin. You know, Goblin Shaman. He's green Goblin. Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. And we just, I believe we re-glyphed him, because when we did pull him, we had put glyphs on him, because he came like not too long after the summons I did for, I think I will be putting out that video before this video, that summons, which was the secret summons, where I was once again summoning for fodder, and out of nowhere pulled a 4-star, and it couldn't bet anything better, because I definitely wanted an AoE purge. I mean, Air David was the one I really wanted, but I think that Green Goblin suits our box a little better, so that was pretty clutch. And did get another decent 3-star. During the same summons, we end up pulling the Fire Druid, which was pretty cool. I really like that we pulled her. We did change her glyphs recently. She was on a different build. I think she had like meditation immunity. Now we got on her same immunity glyphs, because I think her meds is on something else right now, and whatever little haste glyphs we had laying around in the box. So that's like the major units that we pulled. We build a few new units as well, but I don't think it's really that important that we go over the units that we the new units that we built and played around with. Sorry, Earth Witch, sorry. Sapphire took your place. So let's talk about our D10s. We finally are able to farm each one of the D10s. We had them all unlocked. I think Benefit was the one we didn't have. I ended up manualing just to get it done, and then we ended up building a team for it. Right now we don't quite have a team. We was like playing around with some units in Benefit that was kind of working ideally, but we didn't quite have an actual team. I think the team that we was playing around with was, who did we have? I think we had you. This was a really slow team at that too. This team had some pretty good success, but the runs was like well over 10 minutes because we really didn't have like a solid DPS to clear waves, and the waves itself already takes extremely long to go through. We also, before we started building that guy as our tank, this guy, the little fire golem, we were using our faceless mostly as just the DPS, and hopefully he was able to do his job before he gets completely pooped on, and generally he gets pooped on because we didn't have a tank per se. It's just like hard to kind of find room. I mean, the only option I think I could do was to take out WHS and put in another unit for tanking purposes. Probably just throw him back in, and maybe I could test that to see how that works. Right now he doesn't have any glyphs on him because we stripped him to build other units. So, and we're not quite doing Benefit right now. I think we're going to start doing Benefit, but we're not quite right now. And then we've been playing around with teams for Wrath. Right now this is the team that I'm currently using. Looks like it'll be a really fast team, doesn't it? You know, we got our little DPS duel going on. We got some attack buffs and some death breaks. Literally these three die. They die. They're not quite ready. They need to be they need to be 5-star. He probably should be 5-star too. I still could probably make him work as a 4-star, but they definitely need to be 5-star. Still got to improve their glyphs and everything a little more. This team does work. Even if they die, my tree can solo Rav pretty effectively, at least 80%. I haven't did a run from beginning to end to see if he can solo all the way through, because that just would take so much time. But generally when he gets to the boss, he can handle it by himself decently, and usually WHS stay alive and support him through there, and it works out pretty well. So this was like the last team I was playing around with. I had a few other team builds I don't quite remember, but that's kind of what we were doing. Then our current strength team, I just built this one like I think the today of the recording, or a day or so ago. I think it was either today or the day before me recording this video is when I built this team, because I actually took my druid out and put my second WHS in just to see if I can get cooldowns to reset faster and all that good stuff. And then I didn't have Green Goblin in because Green Goblin was pretty squishy. His glyphs is a lot better than what they were before, and he's a little bit faster than what he was before. But we wasn't using Green Goblin. We were using, what was we using? In place of him, we had the Air Cyclops, which is pretty clutch. I mean, he does nothing that's too significant other than his passive allowing him to petrify every time he attack. And then his second skill had, I think, like a 40% chance. Let's look at it. Alright, that's not working. Alright, right here. Alright, there we go. Here's a 40% chance for him. 35% chance I think his skills up to like 40, 50 or something like that. But he really don't need skillers. But a 35% chance for him to proc a turn. So you could petrify potentially 2 units using him. And he was mostly used since he has attribute advantage against the water nymph, which is the right ad in the strength dungeon. So he just practically locks down that ad, so you don't have to worry about the anti-heal debuff, because that thing is crucial and it's painful. But other than that, he doesn't really do anything to help the run as far as its success outside of that, how fast and everything, because using him is kind of a little slower. But it was working pretty effectively, and this was the team that I was using before I swapped out my druid and put in the, where is she? The second WHS. So this was the team I was playing around with for a while, and the success rate surprisingly wasn't that great. Personally, I think running a cleanse and immunity is better than running double cleanses for the strength dungeon, because that right is like that. Once that right ad moves, even if you can cleanse, it's like you kind of in a bind, because you gotta get the cleanse in order for you to be able to heal. But if you got the immunity up and she gets the turn, you don't have to worry about it, and then you can still cleanse. You still have your cleanser to cleanse whatever other debuffs that might be on you at that present time. So that's kind of how that strategy was working for me. And those was pretty much my dungeon teams. Time-wise, I say my strength team probably do it about 7 minutes or so, a little 7:30. Probably 8 minutes if we lose a few units, if not longer. The raft team, if everybody survives and they do exactly what they supposed to, this team can run at about 4 to 5 minutes. But if these 3 die and then it's just pretty much a tree carry, then we're talking about 7-8 minute run, if not longer. If let's say he survives, or if I'm using a different team, a 3rd unit survives. Generally, I have to have just 2 or just tree for tree to really do his job, because the boss gets less crits with less units for him to crit on. That makes Tree able to like clear better. Like, he's better doing it solo than having extra units. Even though he kind of likes, I think he has a crush on my WHS, so they kind of work really well together. So I usually pair them together all the time. Then for the pseudo benefit team that I kind of had going or whatever, that was like 10 minutes, if not more, and it's just horrible. So I'm gonna have to work on the time frame for that, see if I can get something better going. I might even try Mike out, see if he can help clear ways faster. See what I can do to just make it a lot safer as well as faster in some regards, depending on what I bring in. But just have to see when I test things out. So at the time of this recording, we are currently on TOT 90. I won't say we're actually stuck. It's just as I've been doing TOT, and I've been like making videos explaining how to get through the floors and everything. So I've been trying to learn, progress, and get as further as I can through. Unfortunately, with the 2 days left and the requirements for me to pass 90, it's just not happening this month. I'm kind of crystal deprived, because after the last glyph removal, because of the update with the raid, it's been pretty hard for me, because I re-glyphed a lot of units, and I got a lot of glyphs to get to at least 13 at best. So it's been kind of rough for me, and it will require me to re-glyph my units in order to clear, because you have 2 options I've noticed two options, as I noticed, once you get up to 80 and going further, and that's either have 181 speed or better, because I believe the bosses are usually 180 at 80 and above, but pretty much have like 200 speed, and the second thing is, if you don't have the speed requirements, have immunity. Or have a lot of speed on the fire druid and immunity. And if that doesn't work, everything on immunity. Try that, and maybe possibly even bringing in a reviver that's also on immunity, just for survival purposes. Because I'm like, I go into 90 and I'm just like, yeah, decimated. And then 80, it was kind of the same thing. But it was a bit let down because so many people during this month was like complaining about how difficult 80 was, and I brought in my WHS on immunity, and everything moved. We cleansed everybody, and go figure, it was done less than 10 seconds. But that's kind of where we are on TOT. And generally the kind of team that we bring in for TOT, like our standard team, once we get to the point where we can't just like cleave everything, our standard team is usually something like this. What else do I use? Oh yeah, well, this is currently what we've been doing. Prior to this, we'd do this combo. We would do this combo right here, and this is kind of what our TOT has been. After they nerfed the Fire Necro, it was kind of disappointing, and I ended up stripping them. I just re-glyphed them. I mean, his glyphs are nothing right now, but I ended up stripping them and using his glyphs in other places. Like, his glyphs is nothing. And it's funny though, because I was just climbing from 81 all the way up to 90 using him with these glyphs that's like level 1 and everything. But I mean, if you follow my guides and understand that you never let anything get a turn, you don't get a turn. That will be a song in the future. But if you don't let anything get a turn, you don't have to worry about losing a unit, like if their glyph is not leveled or anything like that, because it doesn't really take a lot to perform well. Then if I were to go onto boss floors, then I would have something like this instead. This will be what I would do. And that's just kind of like my variations of things. It's like beforehand, I was doing this right here, because if you're not running double Bassy, it's a problem. You gotta have Herman and you gotta have George. Gotta have them. It's a must. They're like, OP is all ever. I mean, like, they're definitely not Nat. Their skills does not say Nat 2, and the fact that they are, I mean, even the Nat 4s aren't as great as them. I mean, to a certain extent, the Nat 4s are better just because they have better base stats. But when you have these OP kits like they do, it's kind of hard to compare. It's like, all right, they have a kit that's of a Nat 3, of a Nat 4, that makes them just that more viable to have. So everyone should have these two things built. Unless you're just that OP with what you use, you don't need them. But anybody else that's struggling through the progression, that's trying, I mean, it's just easy just breaking those two. And I'm going to say that a million more times until everybody in this community understands that you gotta run the Bassy. Moving on. Where we going now? Where we going? Alright, let's talk about some arena. Yeah, arena. Alright. So, I think we were like bronze 2 last month when we did our last progression guide, and right now we're sitting at silver 2, and we're probably going to hang and farm in silver 2 for a while, because I think this is about about our skill level, really, where we are. I don't think we should go any higher because things probably poop on us, even on the farming side of things. Like, I can't even win every battle. Like, you see, I got 11 consecutives right now. I usually can't stay over 25. Like, if it was like bronze, I can probably get 100 without worrying about anything. But since it's silver, I come across a lot of teams that outspeed and things like that. But there are still a lot of teams that farm, so it's pretty decent for me. And I got a real defense up because I fell so low beyond rank 100. It was ridiculous. It took me like 10 fights just to get myself back into the top 100 in my league. So I'm keeping a real defense just because of that factor. And this is what I'm currently doing on my defense. Probably once I level up the glyphs on my Necro, I'm gonna test him out again. I'm not sure if this is doing anything. It doesn't look like it's doing much of anything. The last defense I had was performing a little better. Oops. And pretty much I will swap out my fire druid because I want to just test her out because I know a lot of people have been using her. And I just wanted to test her out since I re-glyphed her and did a little bit better. Did a little more things with her, but normally I would run my green goblin instead of her. So it's like my booster goes, or if they faster, my booster probably will cut in between, and they probably will be buffed up and everything. Or if they have immunity on their AO, they have that, and then green goblin should strip. Purging all those nice buffs. Then Sapphire goes and pretty much CC everything, and then my Faceless go and just shut everything down. And at that point, you're just kind of like done. And that's the way that the defense supposed to work or whatever. That's kind of what I had going on defense. As far as AO goes, I kind of changed that up too. This is my current AO that I run, at least when I'm playing on Nox. Like when I'm out and about, I run a different AO for whatever reason. The old AO I used to use where I run triple bombers. I run triple bombers or whatever, but I've been getting some decent success running a cleave, more of a cleave bomb team, because it's like, alright, booster goes, then Trina goes, then might go kaboom if you can get kaboom on everything, get the good stuns and everything. If you're squishy, you're dead. If you're not that squishy, then you take a lot of damage but get stunned or whatever. And then Sapphire goes, freeze everybody, kills those turn bars. Then that gives me the opportunity. To come back and use because I think Sapphire laps Mike because how slow he is in comparison. Then Sapphire will be able to use her second skill to get the death break up, and then Mike cleaves from there. And that's kind of how this AO works. Other than that, it'll just be triple bombs, kaboom, and then the final kaboom. And if we got a cleave to finish, then that's what it is. That's usually how things go, as long as we land bombs. Because we don't have as much accuracy now, because I was focusing more on the cleaving aspect, at least for him, and getting more speed and attack on both Trina and Nina. So I can't show the stats for the team. So this is Sapphire. You've already looked at Sapphire, but this is Sapphire stats and everything. What she got going on, which is pretty useful, so to speak. Then my Faceless, which is probably one of the best statted units, and the one I put the most work into because it got the most amount of glyphs. That's plus 16 in comparison to everything else. Of course, the Druid, once again, with our new setup, would love to have like 5,000 more HP on her if I could. If that would be nice. definitely would like more resistance. Not that big since I'm running immunity on her, but it would still be nice to have it though. With more resistance. Then Mike once again in his stats, slower than what I want. I mean, like 130 would be perfect, especially for speed sinking. But I mean, he got okay attack based off of the kind of glyphs I have. It's not bad for what I got going on. I mean, I could plus 16 as glyphs just to get him that extra little bit of stats, but I don't really see a big need for it. And then Trina once again, and her stats, she got like a lot of attack, like a shit ton of attack. So that's why I was kind of going with that, to get the damage of the bombs up. By getting her, since she's the fastest, she gets her bomb on, and then when they get explode, her bomb just does like the same amount of damage, which wipes teams most of the time, or at least put them critical. She doesn't have much accuracy to get that, and then a lot more speed than what she had prior. But they generally land for the most part, and it sucks when they don't. And then Nina, her sister, a little better on the accuracy, not as much attack, but still pretty decently, and properly speeds tuned to her. So she goes like directly after, and I don't really worry about anything cutting in between those two. It's just once Mike's turns up, that's when I'm really worried about the cutting. She's relatively squishy, so she definitely won't last long. Like if the match goes all the way until staff, then it's definitely out of there. She get one-shotted by everybody's staff. Green Goblin stats, which I believe I think his speed is the same as Sapphire, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, Sapphire's a little slower, but he's decently tanky. I like to get his defense a little higher, but it's better than what it used to be. That's for sure, because it didn't used to be as high as it is now. He did have more accuracy, and that kind of sucks. He doesn't got the accuracy that I would love him to have. But just to get those tanky stats, I had to sacrifice accuracy. Because I think I had an accuracy glyph on him, which pretty much got him like really up there. But he just was too squishy. He couldn't survive in the dungeon, especially running like Wrath and stuff. He just gets bodied 2 turns and done. And I just couldn't keep going through that. Then my booster, I actually just put a new glyph on him. I think it was this glyph, which was faster than the last glyph because it didn't have a speed sub on it. But the last glyph was plus 16, so he's 1 speed slower than his last build. But once I take this to 16, you get all that back, and then so. I definitely need to work on these glyphs as well, just to get them more speed, because it's slow. This is slow. Like, we need to get above 200. Definitely. Especially at this low where we are. 200 speed would be insane being this low. But, we just gotta farm more Wrath, which we're not currently doing. We was doing a lot of Wrath. That's where we got probably a decent amount of these glyphs from. I'm sure 1 or 2 of these glyphs are from the shop, but we have been farming a little bit of Wrath. So that's kind of the arena side of things. Let's talk about the guild. The guild has been grinding. We just leveled up again today. We had a level up yesterday as well. We've been leveling up at least like once every day or so. Every day or other day. But yeah, we're at 37 now, and we had to do a guild merger because of the raid content. So we merged the second guild, Zodiac Gemini, with the main guild, Zodiac Prime, just to fill up our numbers. So now we're maxed out in Prime, and we are currently looking for new players to join Zodiac Gemini, level 20 plus, so we can get the grind going and get more active and players, and get things going, so we can be the best of the best. You know, have us a nice little community. I mean, the Discord has been pretty cool. We got a little more people active in our Discord. Funny though, because when we did the merger, a whole bunch of people came out of the woodwork that wasn't talking before. But you know, it's pretty much back to normal. But it kind of sucks at the same time, because it's like, yo, just pay attention to what's going on. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, we have important things going on, and I give people in my guild a voice. We vote for our guild quest. Like, what does everybody need? You know, let's put up a vote. Everybody do these things. But when you don't contribute, you can't get what you need or what you want. And then when you're asking about things and you're confused and you're not in the Discord chatting, you know, that can be a thing. So if any of my guild mates are watching, you know, it's probably the people that actually participate in our little guild discussions and everything. And there's a lot of people that it's kind of funny, because there's a lot of people that like needed help and then started asking questions and found out that we have people that actively talk about our own progression, what we're doing and how to build. We got some knowledge going on, and it's like, yo, just pay attention. That's all you got to do, man. That's all you got to do, because we're here to help. We're supposed to be a family, right? So we're here to help. So anybody that does want to join, definitely, you know, shoot me a message on Discord. You can, my Discord is in the description box below. But if you are on the MMEG Discord, you can always @ me there, and I definitely will show up and respond, and we can get a conversation going. You know, talk about getting you in and all that good stuff. So right now we don't have any quests going on, but that's because we're in the voting process. So once everybody cast their votes and everything, once it all goes through, then that's when on our Fridays, I believe, yeah, it's Fridays usually, that's when we start it. We do our guild quest, and then whatever the current event is at that time, we do guild quest based off of the event as well. That one is not voted on, because I mean, it's just basically whatever the event is, we're doing the quest that coincides with that event, and including our quest that we vote for. So that's that in a nutshell. So there's not too much else really guild wise that I could say, other than, you know, we are recruiting for Gemini once again. So let's talk about the raids right now. The raids, it took a lot, but we did get through wave 1. We're currently almost done with wave 2, which is kind of a challenge in its own, and just kind of learning everything, getting an understanding. I know after you get past wave 1, which running bombers or AoE cleave is probably the best suited thing to do to get past the first wave. But going into the second wave through the rest, from my experience with the second wave and the knowledge that I acquired from other people doing wave 3 and 4, those single target HP scaling units like the Mystics, the Jackals, and the Earth Djinn is like pretty powerful. I recommend any and everybody to build the Earth Djinn if you have one, just because that's the free to play option, and she does some pretty good damage. I mean, like mine with an attack buff and a death break can hit for 60k, and she's on some really shitty glyphs. Well, I don't think our glyphs is completely shit, but they're not quite leveled up. Alright, let me quit BS. They're terrible. They're terrible. But I mean, like, this is her stats. I wish I could have her a lot faster, so she doesn't like get pooped on by that right ad, which is Rocky, the Earth Kitty. But I did run 2 speed glyphs, but the problem with running 2 speed, or me running 2 speed glyphs, was she was completely squished and it just wasn't working. So I opted out of the speed and went for an HP just to get her a little bit tankier. I wish I could go crit and crit damage, but it just wasn't possible, and I just didn't have the speed on the frenzy glyphs to match up to these haze glyphs to get her still a decent enough speed for me to be able to get that extra crit there and then go crit damage, but we are running the destruction because we just need the crit damage. And I know I had some pretty okay destruction glitch laying around, but we need that crit damage to get that extra damage out of her because that's just critically important, and we're just using her for a second skill for the most part, trying to get as many attacks in and without her dying and try to save her so we can use her again in a later run. But that's kind of what we got going on as far as her and the raid. I won't go too crazy on what I'm doing specifically in the raid because that's probably more suited for a video just solely about the raid. So we are getting up there in the time frame. I'm not sure how long once I start clipping and cutting things out this video is going to be, but we are at 40 minutes at this recording. So in the conclusion, right now I'm farming mostly strength. I think I'm going to do benefit because of TOT, because I just need those immunity glyphs just to survive in those higher stages of TOT. So once we get further into TOT coming into the next rotation, then I will be able to push further and not worry so much about what happens or any of that kind of stuff. So a lot of that is really not that big of a deal, but that's the direction I want to go in. I was looking to 5-star unit because I've been building so many 4-stars. I could have 5-star something, but I was testing units, playing around with units and trying things out, building new units, building units for the raid, that type of stuff. So it kind of had me spread my resources a little too thin in that regard, but now I think I want to just consolidate a little more now and focus mostly on my dungeon teams, which I was going to go back and focus strength, but it seems like I probably need to try out benefit, play around, and see what units I can get built. Hopefully I can get me a time at least under 10 minutes, 7 minutes if possible. So I'm gonna play around with that, but if not, my next 5-star will probably be between Druid and Green Goblin. Probably those two because I'm using them both in my strength team and they both seem to die. Not often, but they do die. And I use them in multiple other areas in the game, so it's like I can't see why not. But what I was thinking was going with Mike, and because I was using him for the Wrath, and I figured he'd be able to survive in Wrath, but he's in my PvP, but PvP is not that quite important. My PvP team is fine as it is, but then I also use him in the raid, and raid is okay. The raid is okay. I mean, I do it and everything, but it's not a primary focus because I need to get my dungeon teams together and get better glyphs so I can do better in the raid. And then, I mean, I use them TLT, but that's until I have to stop and do other things. And I figure she would probably be better. She's gone. Where'd she go? She would probably be better in that regard. So, probably gonna pick my brain for a minute and decide on the direction that I want to go in that perspective. And I mean, if you actually are watching to this part of the video, then definitely give me your input and your thoughts on the direction I should go as far as the 5-star is concerned. Mike, I'm probably not going to consider it as an option right now, but either way, it's going to be my Druid and my Goblin as the choice. So one of them, and then the other one is going to come right after. Then I'm probably going to go Mike and Trina. I'm probably going to go with them two next. After that, if not, it's probably going to be another support or saboteur, or depending on if I pull something else within this coming month. So until then, we just have to see what happens. So I have taken up so much of you guys' time. If you did make it all the way through, I appreciate that so much. For you guys that do watch my personal progression guides, or my personal progression, thank you so much once again. I hope you have enjoyed, you know, learning about what's going on my account and everything, and my thought process on what I'm doing, because I am the anti-meta. But besides all that, though, it's been a world of fun, man. Shout out to the MMEG community, especially on Discord. There's a lot of good people out there. You guys are amazing. I mean, I definitely have a lot of fun chatting with you guys. I clicked on that like this was the art account. I ain't got no crystals. Buying stuff for it. All right, but let me call it right there. This is the Gamer Dude signing out. There's probably a billion other things that I could have said or didn't mention, but we'll just save that for the next video or another video, and let's see how far we can get next month. Deuces.